For years, we've talked about how big Quant Network will be and how it's one of the largest enablers of everything around crypto. Today, that statement is still 100% true. In this video, I want to go over a lot of information, especially when it comes back to XRP, HBAR, etc. But I also want to really address a few things. Number one, 2025 has been a huge year for crypto. I don't think that I need to tell you guys that. You guys already see some of the biggest moves happening around crypto. But one thing that I think is so important to focus on, especially this year for crypto, is the confirmation not from crypto YouTubers or from crypto CEOs of where crypto is headed, but from some of the most prominent names around the traditional system. We now have the SEC, the Fed, the OCC, the US government telling us how big crypto is going to be, but also central bankers saying that we are entering into a new financial regime where stablecoins are essentially going to be the future. When we have statements like this, when we have names like this talking about crypto, it's very clear that, crypto's on a path to tens of trillions of dollars in market cap. Crypto's on a path to significant adoption and utilization of the underlying utility-based networks that we've talked about day to day for the last couple years. We have here from the CIO of Bitwise, anyone who is skeptical of the future growth of stablecoins and tokenized financial markets should go read these two documents immediately. The first one is coming from the SEC, which is titled American Leadership in Digital Finance Revolution, where the entire breakdown of this is just how all of these markets are evolving, and crypto is the enabler of all of it. And the future of finance will live on chain. Blockchain will become the infrastructure that all of this is built upon. This is coming from, like I said, the SEC. Then the next one is from the Bank of England's governor, and this is talking about the new stablecoin regime. Now, this Financial Times article is stuck behind a paywall, but it's basically this one from Cointelegraph. I did talk about this in a recent video as well, but the Bank of England governor says that stablecoins could reduce reliance on banks. Essentially, what he is mentioning is that stablecoins are going to eat up the banking industry. And of course, yes, Matt from Bitwise did say, these are radical statements from the most important financial regulators in the world. Stablecoins are going to eat payments and tokenization is going to eat traditional financial markets, and it's going to happen much, much faster than most people think. And yeah, it is. And the best part about this is we already know some of the key players that will enable all of this. Quant is a big player here. Let's look at a few things happening right now. Number one, Coinbase released this back in March of this year. Since then, institutional grade adoption and institutional focus on crypto has heated up significantly, way more than we even saw back then. But this was a survey in collaboration with Ernst & Young, and this is with 352 institutional investors. Here are the key takeaways. Institutional investors globally increased their allocations to digital assets this past year and intend to continue to do so throughout 2025. Combined with an appetite for innovation in the areas of stablecoins, decentralized finance, and tokenization, the industry appears to be on the cusp of broad institutional support. With this backdrop, the survey, with more than 350 institutional investors across the world on their sentiment, invest plans and usage around digital assets. More than 3/4 of surveyed investors expect to increase their allocations to digital assets in 2025, with 59% planning to allocate over 5% of assets under management to digital assets or related products. Interest in stablecoins and tokenized assets is also increasing, seeking yield, transactional convenience, and an efficient means to facilitate foreign exchange. 84% of institutions are either already utilizing or expressing interest in utilizing stablecoins. We also expect to see institutional investors increase core allocations, expand their holding of altcoins, start to engage more in DeFi, explore the availability of tokenized alternative assets, and leverage stablecoins for both yield and transactional convenience. While momentum continues, markets will keep an eye on news coming out from the President's Working Group on Digital Asset Markets, as well as Senate and House subcommittees on digital assets. And yeah, with increased regulations as well, by the way, like for example, the Genius Act, but also the Clarity Act, all of these numbers are very bullish to see before we have those regulations in place. Stablecoins have been growing significantly because, of course, the Genius Act did get passed. But what about the Clarity Act? Because that's still being worked on, and that's going to be the biggest enabler of everything that we've talked about in the past. Utility bull runs, utilization at scale, institutional grade adoption at scale, retail adoption at scale, like all of those fancy things that we've talked about, all of that happens once we see full-on clarity for crypto. And that's being worked on right now. It's also being worked on right now while we see majority of the US's largest banks embracing crypto services. And yes, this happened after the OCC, the Fed, and all of the big players gave the green light to banks. Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Charles Schwab, Standard Chartered, Bank of America, Citi, all of them. PNC, State Street, BNY Mellon, Citi, JP Morgan, I mean, all of these big players, Capital One, HSBC, First Citizens, Citizens Financial, M&T, Barclays, all of these big players are now tapping into crypto. And what's funny about all of this is even Quant has been tapped in on many occasions with big banks to utilize crypto and crypto tech. And they continue to enable key pieces of their tech stack to benefit the rest of the space. Like, for example, their layer 2.5. Interoperability has been in Quant's DNA since the very beginning. Today, we are sharing more on our vision for Quant Fusion, the institutional layer 2.5 rollup network. The future of digital assets and tokenized money cannot be fragmented. Markets need a unified layer where institutions can issue, upgrade, and trade assets seamlessly, and that's exactly what Fusion enables. For new assets, institutions can issue directly into an interoperable layer 2.5 network, instantly making them institutional grade and ready for global adoption. For existing assets, those already siloed on multiple blockchains can be unified into Fusion's single interoperable layer. This removes fragmentation, reduces operational complexity, and unlocks liquidity across networks. Once assets are operating on layer 2.5, they can natively be traded, swapped, and settled either within the network itself or with external layer 1 chains and their assets such as USDC for liquidity. Our vision is clear. Migrate institutional traffic onto Fusion, powered by QNT at the core. This will enable all participants to transact in a more efficient, secure, and interoperable financial system. This is the next step in making tokenized money and digital assets truly work for the world's institutional players. When we think about this, all right, when it comes to XRP, when it comes to HBAR, when it comes to any of these utility-based projects, we have always talked about how this new financial system is coming together. Quant is building out core pieces to that system. They always have been. Even with ISO TC 307, which does not get a lot of talk, right? Today, a lot of people don't even know about it. But back in 2021, we were talking about it back in 2021. We were talking about it back in 2022, 2023. That is a huge standard because that is a DLT and blockchain native standard for institutional players and enterprise players and even government players to tap into blockchain and DLT. Now you might say, well, what about XRP? Is Quant and XRP tied back to each other at all? Well, here we have a little bit of an older post from Gilbert Verdi. It's old because you can tell that it's old, especially considering the fact that Libra is being mentioned here. But when we look at this, this is confirmation that number one, Quant is agnostic because again, everyone will say, oh, it's an ERC20 token. It's blockchain agnostic. It's also interoperating with different blockchains, including Ripple, XRP Ledger. Similarly, by connecting to Overledger, we help provide market access, more users and clients from enterprise permission blockchains and public permissionless blockchains to the Ripple network and vice versa. Some use cases by using Overledger, internal Corda, Overledger, Ripple, and XRP Ledger. Hyperledger Network 1, Overledger, Hyperledger Network 2, Overledger Ripple XRP Ledger, or even with JPM, right? JP Morgan's coin, Overledger at the center point, you have these two now be interoperable. Libra, Binance Chain, it doesn't matter, right? Quant is enabling that interoperability. Recently, one of the biggest things that everyone was talking about is what Swift just did with all of these big banks. Well, guess what? That new private network that Swift is essentially creating, Overledger can enable that to move with Ripple and the XRP Ledger. Even when it comes to Hedera, when it comes to any network, right? This enables that. What Quant has created is something so bullish for the entire industry. My media company account put out a post regarding QNT XDC and HBAR. They all got invited to SIBOS 2025. 3 official enterprise DLTs handpicked by Swift to attend and present at SIBOS 2025. We'll soon see these 3 at the highest stages of global finance discussions. This is no longer speculation. These 3 are sitting in the big leagues talking with the leaders that drive the future of finance. And it should be no surprise to see these names. Time after time, they've continued to prove that they are leading in their specific vertical of financial innovation. And now at SIBOS, it's time for them to show the world. Quant is going all in with programmable money. It's the only Discover member with a full-on panel of its own, and the title says it all. Institutional money in transition, real-time programmable, and sovereign. This is exactly what we've seen developing with Quant the past few years, from Rosalind to UK RLN, all the way to now with Quant Flow. Additionally, there's 2 panels from Quant's close partner Oracle worth watching. As remember, Oracle blockchain equals Overledger, transforming cash trade in corporate banks, preparing for ISO 20022 and stablecoins. And on top of this, Nexi, who also leverages Overledger via their merger partner SIA, will also be presenting. It'll be exciting to hear on what's discussed about the future of programmable money with Quant orchestrating it all. Hedera seems well prepared for SIBOS as well with their new recent Hedera Enterprise Adoption team. They're also bringing the heat with HashSpear as a focal point. Their private DLT for institutions is finally on display for the world to see. Rob Allen, the head of future payments at Australian Payments Plus, will be a key rep for Hedera at SIBOS. This is the same Australian Payments Plus governing the Hedera Council and using HashSpear in CBDC Project Acacia by Reserve Bank of Australia. It's clear that we are seeing some discussions on Hedera around CBDC infrastructure as well, but that's not all. Tokenized money market funds with Archix, cross-border FX via Shinhan and Lloyds, Treasury micropayments with Drop and FedNow, digital ID with Hashgraph and ID Trust, AI compute with Intel, NVIDIA, and Accenture. These are all points that Hedera has also listed they'll be bringing to SIBOS. And from what we've seen, these all fit into the innovations in real-world finance today. Then, of course, XDC is proving itself as the real-world trade finance engine. They're showcasing at SIBOS is all about digitizing cross-border documents, trade flows, and finance rails. XDC already powers Anigio's digital envelope, supports Lloyds and Commerce Bank with their trade pilots, and backs integrations with Oracle and Commerce Bank as well. They're bringing real-life case studies, not pilots. It's no coincidence that many of the banks that are connected and leveraging XDC already are here too. With trade infrastructure going digital at the national level now, XDC's appearance at SIBOS is perfectly timed. SIBOS 2025 is more than a conference. It's a preview of the future of finance. And with everything from tokenization, stablecoins, digital payments, CBDCs, and more, this year's SIBOS is a little different from former years. And yes, when we think about these projects, when we think about these names, right, we think about XRP, we think about XLM, QNT, XDC, HBAR, all of these players, they're doing incredible things, right? They're innovating at massive levels. But the main thing that we are focused on here is the role that Quant is filling, okay? Quant is filling that infrastructure layer role where it's enabling all of these DLTs. Every use case that these DLTs are trying to target, Quant is enabling that, because what Quant does is it connects all of these DLTs to the TradFi space. When we think about Project Rosalind or RLN, those are all private network-based initiatives where Quant is enabling them to connect to public DLTs. That's why when we look at Overledger, even the older images like this one, I'm sure that you guys are all aware of this one, we look at what Overledger is enabling. You have those enterprise permission, aka private blockchains, and then you have the public permissionless blockchains all being connected into Overledger, allowing these two to connect to one another, and even those other blockchains as well. Everything from Hedera to XLM to XRP to XDC, QNT is enabling all of those, connectivity layers to connect to one another, all through that interoperable Overledger platform. Overledger is that future, that future infrastructure layer, if you will, that I kind of look at it as an operating system, right? It's the operating system of the future, because again, when we think about what Quant has created here, it's core infrastructure. It's the operating system, if you will, that all of this stuff will run on. If we think about tokenization, we think about stablecoins, all of this stuff, you have all of these different networks, you have all of these private and public networks, all of that needs that connectivity layer, and Quant is building it. And they continue to build upon it with these things like Quant Fusion, for example. And I'm extremely bullish about this. I think that this is so important to focus on. And what Quant is doing here is extremely important for all of these other networks. I know that everyone wants to say, oh, well, XRP doesn't need Quant, or, oh, Hedera doesn't need Quant. They 100% need interoperability. Everything needs interoperability. We cannot have these things fragmented. We essentially right now have all of these digital islands. And yes, sure, there's some connectivity. A lot of the connectivity layers that we have in crypto today are not secure. They're all layer 2s, or if they are layer 2s, number one, a lot of them are not secure enough. A lot of them do get exploited. And if they're not layer 2s, they're bridges. And bridges are even worse than layer 2 networks. What Quant is building here is a layer 2 and 2.5 network that has that institutional level security tied back to it. And you're also seeing the enablement of everything that these bridges and these layer 2s have, but on a completely different level and on a much more efficient level as well. That's why Quant is working with some of the biggest institutional players out there, some of the biggest organizations out there as well. Again, this is how we get into the future financial system. Quant is building it. Quant is building core pieces for it as well. And we have to pay attention to this. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out, guys.